Hello, and welcome to Silver Linings Podcast. This is a podcast where I talk about Valorant esports in the Southeast Asian region. I'm Loser Mangaka. I'm a hard stuck silver, hence the title of the show. And uh, first off, if you are new here or if you listened to the previous episodes, I just want to say that I'm still starting this podcast out. Uh, Not everything is very, fully conceptualized. I'm trying to like learn as I go on with this, and yeah, previous episodes I made so much mistakes. I got, I made some wrong claims, like wrong facts. Uh, and I also over discussed unnecessary stuff, which was like the last episode, and that's why it took like almost 2 hours for like the whole thing. It's completely boring. Not really, still working on the format of these podcasts, and yeah, hopefully it gets better and better. Uh, if you want like a specific thing where I need to talk, just comment below. It'd be really great. Um, if you're listening to this on if you're listening to this on Spotify, uh, just go check out the YouTube page. Maybe you might uh that way you can voice out your opinions over there. But wherever you listen to this, I'm very thankful, grateful. Let's talk about Valorant esports. So, uh, it's it's been yeah, already stuttering a lot. So Valorant SEA Challengers has finally ended, and as much as like we already, if you're watching this, you already know who the winner is, but I want to like give some hype to it, bring in like some flair into like coming into this episode. So first off, of you know this whole Southeast Asian challengers is a culmination of like seven other regions or countries, all into like one goal, which is to reach Valorant Masters Berlin. And it is, such a competitive uh, tournament, to be honest. Imagine out of hundreds of teams around Southeast Asia, we were able to narrow them to the top 16, and now it's the top eight. And I want to give a good introduction to like the top eight teams. Uh, First off, representing Thailand, yeah, Thailand. Full sense. They qualified second. If I'm not, yeah, they qualified second for VCT from they qualified second in their region, and it's amazing like how far they've reached compared to like uh most teams. They were already like a good favorite for many. Like if X10 weren't to win, maybe they could win. Like that's how much many people like had what's the word? Hopes for this team. And yeah, they were like the second team to advance for Thailand. And next team we have Alter Ego. If I'm not mistaken, this is also the second team to qualify in their region, which is Indonesia. Uh, However, they were like one of those teams that's super shaky, especially in their group on the during the group stages. They almost got eliminated, like by a round, by they won miraculously through overtime. But if they had lost that map, they wouldn't have qualified in the top eight. But they were, they're one of those teams that if you sleep on them, you will get wrecked, and you'll find out why. later on. Third team qualify another Indonesian team, Bumi Sports. And Boom was one of the teams that came into VCT SEA Challengers very shaky. Like during they qualified third in the region, and even that was like because no one else was contesting them. That's why they were able to qualify for that for that last slot. But them in the group stages, they were super shaky. Like you can't even tell if like this was a good map for them or if they were gonna win or lose. And I believe it was because of like some the points system that they actually managed to qualify for the playoffs. But yeah, another sleeper team, if I do say so. And yeah, next team we have Big Bam representing Vietnam. This team is one that I truly enjoy watching. Like when I saw their VODs, their run from their qualifiers, they were like a team that looked so deadly that this is a team that many people don't know about. They're kind of new-ish, but at the same time they were dominating. They had one of the most they had good strats basically. Uh and it kind of didn't show on the group stages. They were able to beat X10 though, but same was happened to them. They got defeated as well by X10, but they managed to scrape up those points needed to uh, reach the playoffs. Actually, it was their group that was one of Big Bam and Boom. They were in the group of Death, which was like one of the hardest groups to get out of because they had X10, who we all know X10 is how good they are, but they were also battling another team called GXR, Galaxy Racers, who kind of were expected to lose, but they showed up when they needed, and that was so good to see. Like they really put up a fight. That whole group put up so much of a fight that yeah, the whole Big Bam managed to win that, and they qualified for the playoffs. Next team we have is Brent, number one in the Philippines, and slowly, I mean, even during the group stages, they dominated the whole thing. They went undefeated throughout the whole group stages. They were I believe they were the only team that uh, didn't lose a map on the group stage, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they didn't lose a map. They were the only team that had a perfect run on the group stage. And that's like, that shows how determined this team is. How they really prepared and they're not messing around. And not only do they have like, 100% win rate go through the group stages, but they also had 100% win rate on their overtimes, which amazing. Next up, we have the Malaysian Singapore team, Paper X. I added the Indonesian because two of the players are from Indonesia. But yeah, Singapore, Malaysia team. Uh, they were shaky at first at the group stages, even at their qualifiers. Like they took the last slot for the qualifiers in the region, and during the group stages they were shaky as hell. Like you can't I had doubts that they could like make it out groups, but eventually they showed up. They they got two wins, to be honest, on the group stages and one tie, and that's how. And that was like after that tie, they turned up, they dominated their matches, and yeah, Paper X super promising coming out of the group stages compared to like before the event itself. They were like playing around with their lineup, especially with Forsaken and Divide. They keep having to like play on which of them is gonna be the duelist, flasher, and so on and so forth. And uh, next team we have is CBT. This was a team that I didn't expect to reach the playoffs. I legitimately thought they would get knocked out in the group stages. And it's mostly because of their play style. It's way too orthodox, and coming from like a region wherein the skill gap is so wide, they're kind of similar to Brent. The skill gap is so wide that it makes you question if they can perform in an international level. But some of the players apparently are veterans and they have that experience with them, and it showed because they knew how to play the other team's uh, aggression to their advantage, and they were able to get that second yeah, they were get able to get a second spot in their group along with Bren and qualify for the playoffs. Cerberus is the last team. I believe they were also the last team to qualify. Uh, but this is like them qualify by a hair. Yeah, it was them and Alter Ego, if I'm not mistaken. That were almost. Yeah, they were. It was like. Yeah, 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 yeah. It was them, Cerberus versus Alter Ego, wherein it almost like Cerberus almost got knocked out from that group stage had they lost. If they lost against Alter Ego, but they were able to turn up, push that overtime win, and uh many people say like like Vietnam, since they're like a new region coming into VCT, that they might not be as experienced, but it showed like Vietnam with Big Bang and Cerberus, like they dominated. They were like doing so well, performing against like other teams from other regions, and it showed that they might be a sleeper region. I believe that they'll improve eventually. So yeah, these are the 8 teams that qualified for the playoffs. And yeah, let's talk about the playoffs. So the playoffs is a double elimination, you know, basic bracket, I guess. I don't know what's it called. Sorry, my bad. But yeah, playoffs. Uh, we have the upper bracket. Let's start with that. And yeah, so the upper bracket, we had Big Bam versus Full Sense. Big Bam managed to win that 2-1. I think this is they were they had the funniest like post match interview, because according to the IGL of Big Bam, they lost their first map because they had to wait. They're not morning people, and they since they woke up so early for the first match, they were so sleepy that they didn't perform well. But coming in the second and third map, they showed up, they dominated it, and they got that win against Full Sense, which is so really really amazing because they didn't win. Like the wins against Full Sense were in a dominating fashion. Like all their players were just hitting all those shots. Crazy Guy, Red Neville, and NTK, they were showing up and bringing all the team together. This was like one of like the best form of Big Bam against Full Sense, because nobody was like, I guess first map there were people who were lacking, but in the overall sense of the game, everybody kind of showed up. They performed the way they should be, something like that. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Second match we had Bren versus Cerberus, and Bren just continued their whole undefeated run. They didn't drop a map, and they won it. I believe they reached overtime in like some point. No, they didn't. They convincingly defeated Cerberus. I think this is like when they If I'm not mistaken, they even though like Bren loses like their pistols in this game, they were able to like anti-strat Cerberus so hard, and like they managed to uh read all the movements that Cerberus was doing. So like those, the pistol and the bonus round, many people always see that like, this is, it shows that Bren gonna have a shaky game again against Cerberus, but no, this showed like Bren read those pistols and anti and bonus rounds to play to their advantage, and yeah, that's how they got the win. Like they legit read Cerberus. Next match was Alter Ego versus Boom Esports. Another rematch from like their qualifiers. Uh, which is funny because both same region, so both teams know each other super well, and it showed. Like I believe, yeah, it was Bind. The first map was Bind. Boom's pick, and like Boom dominated their first side. They managed to put things on an 8-4 in their favor, and it showed how Bind is always like is always a Boom's map. They know how to play. They know how to entry. They actually there were times like they were the ones who was like losing Bind, and yet they were managed to like pick up those rounds again when they switch sides to attacking, and it showed. But you it shows how Alter Ego know Boom as well, because when they switch rounds, Alter Ego is able to like reverse the whole thing. They grinded all their wins up to up to like a 13-10, defeating Boom on their map pick. And uh yeah, and the same was done on like the on Alter Ego's map pick. Like which was split. Alter Ego good on split. They showed it when they were up against uh when they were in the when they were in the what's that word? Yeah, they showed it when they were like against Oasis, despite losing to Oasis. So they knew how to play split. But what's the word? This is Alter Ego's map pick, and yet Boom. First they got slapped on the same way, 8-4. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, they got 8-4 on the first side, first half by Alter Ego, and then when they switched sides, Boom returned the favor and slapped Alter Ego, bring it to like a 13-11, which is shows how these two teams really know each other. Uh, for Haven though, Alter Boom, wait, Boom, yeah, Boom was convincingly defeated Alter Ego, sending them to the lower bracket. And for the last match was Paper X versus CBT. And for me, I was like rooting for CBT to win this, or at least get like a map win off of Paper X. But no, this is where Paper X actually woke up, because like the whole time Paper X was on the group stage, they were wobbly. Their only convincing win was against 5A's, but even then, it was 5A's. They weren't much like of a contender. No offense to 5A's, but yeah, uh, they own like most of the matches Paper X had were kind of close, and I was worried that with the way CBT performs, like they would show aggression, and then not play things slow, so like they were able to switch up their play styles. I thought that uh, CBT had a chance, but nah. CBT got spanked, especially on the icebox, which really showed how good what do you call this Paper X is on icebox. They just if you see them play Icebox, they always play it to perfection. The way they call rotations, the opening picks of Forsaken, always good. Like there was a wait, was this it? No, this wasn't it. Uh, yeah, I think it was gonna be the next one. Yeah, but Paper X on Icebox, always a banger, always a win. So yeah, Paper X dominated against CBT, which kind of unfortunate, but it do be like that. Yeah, that was the upper bracket quarterfinals. Next up we have the semifinals, which is uh Bren versus Big Bam. And for me, I always thought that Big Bam can push Bren to the limit, but unfortunately, it wasn't like that. Bren Bren just you know played uh played Big Bam's strengths as to their weaknesses. Like the way like because in Big Bam's lineup they have a Sova, which is the IGL crazy guy who entries so hard that is amazing, but at the same time, as long as you take him out first, you can easily switch the tides around. And it showed because all they had to do was keep taking down crazy guy, and then they cannot be anti-stratted for the long run. And uh and it also like had uh a bit of jet diff with dubstep stepping up when he should, show putting NTK to shame. Like dubstep overperformed here. He did those clutches to perfection, especially on overtime. The I think it's Haven, yeah. They like the amount of overtimes they had, amazing. Also on Ascent, Bren was so close to losing that Ascent game, but they were able to pull it back around and like play for overtime. I pull it back around until Big Bam kind of like, well, until match point wherein Big Bam had to claw their way to an overtime, and that's happened to both of these matches with Big Bam, wherein Brent's first to get the match point, and yet uh Brent's always first to get the match point, and yet Big Bam will claw their way to an overtime, but Brent 100% win rate on OTs. They clutch those like really last minute clutches from either I believe it's either Borkum or Dubstep, sometimes Dispenser. But yeah, this was like a crucial game for them, and it's sad that it's this both games went to overtime, and both times Big Bam lost those. So yeah, kind of sad, but it do be like that. Next match we had Paper X versus Boom. Uh, with like the few international tournaments that had happened, Paper X have fought against Boom a few times, and it was always the same results. Wherein, oh, actually, my bad. Paper X and Boom did face on like some international events previously, non-VCT events, and Boom would always defeat Paper X. And this was the time like Paper X was still kind of wobbly because they didn't have Shiba. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, Shiba was like the newest player they had. They didn't have that good controller slash sentinel that they needed. And yeah, now it proved how much Paper X grew, especially like you know ever since the group stage. Paper X showed up when they needed, and like they suddenly improved all of a sudden, which was like amazing. Yeah, it was like their bind on bind. Boom was like steamrolling them for a few rounds, and then suddenly Paper X just snapped and broke that momentum of Boom, dominating them on their own map pick. And this is like me saying, like I said earlier, how Boom was such a bind map. Boom was so good on bind, and yet they managed to lose, especially on the attacking side of Boom. Like they lost their momentum when Paper X finally got to like counter them on the defense. And yeah, on the attacking, Paper, I think yeah, they switched up the roles. They had Forsaken on a raise, and that was amazing. Seeing Forsaken on a raise. I mean, that's Raze is the best player for Bind, but yeah, Paper X just entry so good. They had good defense. Forsaken popping off in this event again on this match. That's why they were able to beat Boom in their map pick. But what was the most funny part was the second map, which is Icebox. And earlier I said that Paper X knows how to play Icebox. Like they dominate it. Like no team, like they spanked the hell out of CBT of 5A's when they played against them on Icebox. And Onyx, I know, wait, did they play against Onyx? Or Full Sense. Anyway, Paper X always showing like they know how to play Icebox, and it's like their territory. And against Boom, it was surprising how Boom managed to 10-2 10-2 Paper X on the attacking side of Paper X. So Paper X just got 2 rounds against a solid defense of Boom. And that was like, oh no, this it's obviously gonna go to the third map, but not. I remember watching like the post-match interview where it was Benkai, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Benkai said if they win the pistol on their defending side, they can win it. And they actually did, because from that 10-2 in favor of Boom, they made it 11-13 in favor of Paper X. They only dropped 1 round on the defense of Paper X, and it's like they did perfect retakes. They eliminated them before going to the site. They even like made they made Boom play so slow they couldn't plan. It was so amazing to see like how, and also like Forsaken here never lost an initial duel. He would peek the op on Boom and they're dead. Immediate cancel the aggression, and then there's like Devi to like slow things up a bit for them, and with Mind Freak as well as Shiba playing their roles as Viper and Sova, they were able to easily chip away the life of Boom whenever they entered the site, and it was so amazing. That was like the most insane comeback Paper X did on their map pick, and it showed how much they know the map. Because imagine 10-2 on your map pick, and yet they were able to turn things around. That's amazing. Uh, Upper finals. This is upper finals. This is not the grand finals. This is just upper finals. Paper X versus Bren, and surprisingly, Bren lost. Bren not this is the first loss Bren had, and this was like the most painful one because I believe it was on Icebox wherein things were kind of going well, but all of a sudden Paper X again on Icebox just dominating it. They were able to first they were able to deny the what do you call this? They were able to deny the overtime, and at the same time Forsaken did everybody dirty by doing an ace to finish the map. I think they were on the eco, if they're if not mistaken. No, they had money last round, I guess. No, they had no money. Wait, no, they had the money. I don't know whoever has the money, but they Forsaken just charged into, I think it was the B side, and just like wrecked everybody with the knives, and then one op kill and another knives for the ace. Getting that map win, denying the overtime because Bren with overtimes 100% win rate, but Paper X showing how they also have 100% win rate on their icebox. It was a good match, man. Just I want to say that. But I believe in previous like events, these two have fought before. I believe. No, 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 they haven't. Uh, Second map, Breeze. Uh, Map pick of. Wait, what? Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. So on Paper X versus Bren, Bren chose Icebox. I feel like they did that so they could choose the position on where they know Paper X was gonna, that's just so that they could choose the side to take advantage of. But Bren lost it, and the map pick of Paper X was Breeze. I feel like they chose Breeze, assuming Bren didn't know how to play Breeze. But yeah, surprisingly, Bren won it, and in a convincing manner. Nothing that close. They 13-8 it. Good, clean. Um, yeah, it was good and clean. Wait, hold on. I want to see their. Yeah, they only played Breeze once. The whole yeah, in the whole playoff, Bren only played Breeze once. So maybe Paper X kind of like assumed they might not know how to play Breeze, but Bren stepped up when they needed and spanked Paper X. Third map was Ascent, and this was one of the saddest. This is so sad, to be honest, because uh, Paper X won Ascent, the last map, Ascent, 13-1. Bren only won one round, and it was on their defense. Like, it was so sad. All the retakes, basically, Bren could never do a good retake. They would always end up dying to Paper X. And it wasn't like they tried, saving. No, there was no saving here. They either died uh trying to defend the site, or they either died trying to play for retake. And that was kind of sad because Bren, known to play smart, here they didn't. They lost. It was so sad. And I believe it was the post match interview. Or even like yeah, I guess the post match interview. No, no, wasn't a post match. Anyway, um I think there was that I'll come back to that later. But yeah, Paper X spanked Bren on Ascent, and that was so painful to watch. Especially when you're playing this match, whoever won this would go to the grand finals. And the two teams on the grand finals qualify to Berlin. So they were playing for a slot to VCT Masters Berlin. That this is like a terrible time to underperform. Like that was like next level choke that Brent did over there. But yeah, so that was Paper X qualified for the VCT Masters through this. And let's go now to the lower bracket. The lower bracket we got first round, the first elimination was Cerberus versus Full Sense, and Full Sense, um, convincingly defeated Cerberus. I think this is where they were like mixing up the play styles of like John Olsen and PTC, like because the roles they had was John Olsen would play Jet and PTC would play for Flash, and on this match against Cerberus, they switched it up. So we had PTC playing for Jet and John Olsen playing for Flash, which coincidentally amazing that he was able, like, it was so rare to say like how good PTC would be on a Jet, because he was good on like a Sky or a Breach, and always playing for like the trade or support. And yeah, it showed that John Olsen is insane as a flasher, because one of the problems he had with his Jet is he would always enter a site super dry, or he would get picked super dry, and he would lose those initial duels because he didn't have the utility for it as a Jet. And becoming, I think he was playing Sky. Yeah, he played Sky. Being that Sky, he was able to, enter on his own, become that Sky duelist. And it showed how impactful him and BTC were against Cerberus. They convincingly, you know, uh, defeated Cerberus. Cerberus, on the other hand, this is where they started. I feel like they've been read. Like their strats stopped working, and they lost. I guess. Yeah. Next second match was Alter Ego versus CBT, and I wanted CBT to win because it's CBT. But Alter Ego, I feel like they were. This is when Alter Ego being a sleeper uh, team started to kick in, because CBT struggled so hard against them. Second map, uh, CBT managed to push it to overtime just to win it, and that was so too close for comfort for them. And on the third map, uh, Alter Ego just anti-stratted CBT so hard, because I feel like they've read how CBT played Haven, especially during the group stages, and that helped Alter Ego easily counter the agent selects of CBT towards Haven. I believe it was just like AE, Alter Ego just going for those duels that they should, especially with Berserks. He knows that if you give room for CBT, they would play the map to their advantage. But Alter Ego did just the better Jet, or better duelist with Berserks again versus Yuang. Next round on the lower bracket was Full Sense versus Boom. I believe this was like a rematch or something. They fought once before, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they fought before on another event, and Full Sense defeated them. And here, I think, yeah, it was here where in Full Sense was playing, with the whole Jet, with the whole PTC John Olsen switch up. Like they would switch roles on who would be the Jet, who would be the Sky, and that worked to their advantage. And they convincingly defeated Boom and Haven and Bind. They did well on the ascent, but Boom had a better hand. But yeah, this is where I feel like full sense read Boom's uh bind strat. Uh, yeah, because after that loss that of Boom that brought them to the lower bracket, uh, it just seemed hard. I think I say a Paper X against Paper X. It seemed like uh they couldn't get good anymore on bind, and yeah, feels bad. Imagine your comfort pick losing to that or choking to that. Yeah, but Full Sense showed they were better at bind, dominated against Boom. Next match we have Big Bam. I guess I could zoom in. Why not? Why haven't I decided to do this? We have Big Bam versus Alter Ego, and this is a disappointing match for Big Bam, to be honest. I, but uh, this is also a good match wherein sportsmanship happened because believe in like what happened here was the middle of this game, Alter Ego lost internet from their internet provider, which was like something that happened worldwide, I guess. Uh and so that placed Alter Ego, you know, in a very tight predicament. I think this was like when both teams were on tie, like a 6-6 scoreline. Yeah, I think they were both 6-6, or but basically they're just tied. And like yeah, basically the first half, yeah. And all of a sudden they went to technical timeout for like forever until it was announced that Alter Ego lost their internet connection. But big props to Big Bam because they they didn't want because Alter Ego could have been disqualified for what happened. Though yeah, it is out of their reach, but a match is a match, and had Big Bam decided to play take that for as their win, they could have, but they didn't. They decided to wait things out. And the funniest thing here was Alter Ego, both since they're an Indonesian team, they were finding a way to play the game and decided to contact Boom Esports. Wherein Boom graciously lend them their facility, and that's how Alter Ego was able to play against Bam and wreck Bam. Like no kidding, they were wrecked so hard. Everybody from Bam was underperforming. Crazy Guy wasn't performing well, and TK not even performing at all. Like yeah, he did well on split, but overall everybody was lacking on this matchup, and it was sad. I believe I read somewhere like a tweet of Crazy Guy that they got their vaccine on that day or like the day before. That's why Crazy Guy had the flu throughout the whole match. And as much as like that seems like a valid excuse, it sucks that he had to do that at that time. Like I believe he had reasons why he couldn't reschedule that vaccination, but yeah, it sucks so much that had to be the case. But yeah, sportsmen being they're great sportsmen for letting Alter Ego have the time. And yeah, third round of uh the lower bracket is Full Sense versus Alter Ego, and again, this is like Alter Ego suddenly getting like that anime underdog buff. This is where you can say like they were like a sleeper team because this whole match was so close. Like except for like the second map where in full sense, wrecked Alter Ego, but for both maps where Alter Ego won, it was so close to going to overtime, and all the players played their hearts out. And so just, Alter Ego just getting that win. Because you couldn't fault full sense in any way there. They were performing their best. All three maps. Like John Olsen, PTC. They were doing great. Oh right, yeah, so apparently I checked and John Olsen went back to the main jet role. He didn't he no longer like switched with PTC for the flasher, and PTC just stayed with his role, which I guess worked out for both of them, kinda, because they lost. But yeah, I guess that was like a full sense trying not to like uh be too risky, because when they were switching out that lineup, I feel like they're just testing it out. And sure, it worked in some games, but they had to play for comfort, especially since they were so close to playing for that slot for Berlin. But Alter Ego got that win. Uh, so that's for the like the lower finals is Bren versus Alter Ego, and I guess Alter Ego magic suddenly disappeared. And it was so funny because this happened the following day, where when Bren got spanked by Paper X on that Ascent map, and on the post match interview of this match, it was Dubstep who said that they were able to, because they chose Ascent, I believe. No, like they didn't ban Ascent, despite what happened on Bren versus Paper X. Bren never didn't ban Ascent coming into here. They banned Split though, because they know that Alter Ego kinda is confident there. Uh, but yeah, Bren on Ascent, everybody's worried because he got, you know 13-1 by Paper X, and maybe that might happen again. But uh, Bren managed to play things differently. They were able to get a 13-6 off of Alter Ego on Ascent, which secured them uh, that spot for the grand finals and for that last slot to Berlin or from the C region. And it was so interesting hearing like the answers of Dubstep here, because they said that uh what happened with Paper X, the 13-1, they they didn't feel bad about it. Like, yeah, they were playing for a slot on the for Berlin for VCT Masters. They were playing for that slot for Berlin Masters, and they got spanked so hard by the other team that normally that would be so frustrating because you're so close to the goal, and yet you lost terribly. You choked. That would be like that would have been, that would have wrecked morale basically. But it's good that Bren apparently has a sports psychologist, and they were told, or like they were said that since they lost 13-1, they should have Bren the player should have this mindset that Paper X was just a better team in that, and they didn't stand any chance. Like they accepted the loss. They took that L to heart because had they apparently Dubstep said like if the map went like so close, like 11-13 or overtime, and Paper X still lost, that would have like hurt the morale of the brand players even more, because like that's like if things stay so close and you lost the chance, you just end up blaming yourself even more. But since Brent knew that they had a second chance, and they knew that Paper X was just better at that day. They had to mentally reset, and having like the sports psychologist, having like that support system, or being prepared to mentally reset yourself was something that I love about that about the brand organization, because they prepared hard for it. And that's something that esports players, especially people who have I guess, yeah, esports should take into consider, because this is like, yeah, mechanical shooting, but eventually, if everybody's playing on the same skill level, it's more on a mental game now. Like, who will tilt first, who'll who'll choke. And Brent was able to mentally reset completely in this lower final, and wrecked Alter Ego 2-0. But yeah, surprisingly, Alter Ego, I guess the magic of Alter Ego died. Their players still did the best, but there were players in Alter Ego that were underperforming, which was like Naz Laurent and Fat Penguin, because Fat Penguin and Naz Laurent were always like either like the anchor of the side or the lurk, and they were like, in previous games, these two really turned the tides for their team. But in here, there was so much like misplays. I think there was even like a part in the ascent map around wherein someone had a a marshal, and they were like in front of Borkum, point blank, could have killed him headshot, but the guy whiffed, and Borkum immediately got that kill and easily took the round advantage, wrecking the potential of like a thrifty win for AE. And yeah, this is like where the magic died, and at the same time where Bread managed to mentally reset themselves, because everybody's ended up stepping up again, which is important for like a team, like having all players well balanced. And that's what, like, one thing I've been enjoying about Bren, especially like their group stage run. They went undefeated in, and before the match of like them versus Paper X, uh, it was always worrying, because how majority of the teams here, it's always like this player's popping off or this player's underperforming. But with Bren, like the whole team structure, yeah, I'm boasting about Bren, sorry. With the whole team structure of Bren, everybody has their moments, and at the same time, nobody is like falling behind so much. Like, for example, this one low Brent versus Alter Ego. All in the two maps, all players have a close ADR and ACS, even KDA, I guess, compared to like most teams. Especially like even if like that's what makes Brand so good, because every player within the squad is performing to their best state. And yeah, they won that. They qualified for Berlin, which is which is great, because this the last day of VCT was the lower bracket final and the grand final. And if people were to like think about it, like, Paper X might have the advantage because they're well rested versus Bren, who played the map a best of three series and now have to play a best of five. Obviously, that'll be exhausting. But I felt, seeing like how Bren won against AE, and with the whole idea of them qualifying for Masters, that they have that hype with them. They have, everybody already proud of them. They won basically. Just going to the grand final, they already won. So that hype with them was their momentum, and that really like it showed up in the grand finals, which is uh Paper X versus Bren, and Bren just convincingly defeated Paper X. So the first map was Bind, and it was such a scrappy game. Like both teams were slugging it out with rounds, and uh, like with Bren, they were so close to I think they reached match point. They were like so close to reaching match point, and yet Paper X was about to reach match point. Then Bren got match point. Paper X pulls it to overtime, and then it goes back to the struggle on who would be the better team on overtime. And surprisingly, Bren got that. I think it was mostly two clutches, but insane game for Bren on that bind. If I'm not mistaken, it was mostly because of Dispenser and Borkum with those like insane clutches. Yeah, yeah. No, it's Dispenser and Wits. No, I guess like everybody. Hard to say, but yeah, everybody from in that bind match, everybody and Bren like stepped up. And it showed like Dispenser and Wits were the ones top fragging. Well, yeah, Dubstep had like the best opening kills and doing those duels. He wasn't that much impactful. Like he would die as well. While Jesse Bash with the lineups, always good, especially those ults. And then Borka with the lurk or just holding down sites, also always good. That was the first map. Second map was Split, and this is Paper X map pick. Bind was Bren, Split was Paper X, and another showcase of Bren having 100% win rate on OT, because Paper X, I don't know, because Bren on Split managed to bring it to a match point first. I think it was like 12 to 9, and then Paper X was like, believe in the comeback, guys. We still got this. 3 rounds, we got it. And they forced it to overtime. And then Bren was like, nah, fuck you. We have money now. We know how your strats work. And just yeah, because it's already like that. I feel like it's always whenever everything goes to overtime, teams just like know how the strats would be like, and once they're fully invested, like they have the money to buy shit, they can easily like play counters properly versus like always having to eco and shit or consider the money. Yeah, so they won Split. Yeah, Dubstep was so insane. I think wait, which map had the aces? Split? No. Wait, what? Where was the aces? I remember aces. Oh well. Yeah, wait, there were aces, right? Valorant. Or was that the upper final? Sorry, for the segue. No, I believe there was an ace. Yeah, I knew there was aces. But yeah, third map was. Wait, I'm gonna check now. Third map was Icebox, and like too many like they assume Icebox home turf of Paper X. They had that 100% win rate on that icebox, and you know it was kind of clear that uh they were gonna get that they were gonna get that win at least. But wait. I know, I think it was versus Alter Ego. Yeah, sorry, my bad. It wasn't against Paper X. It was against Alter Ego that they were getting the aces. Yeah, yeah. Borkom and Jessica should those aces. But yeah, anyway, every the performance on Icebox of Paper X versus Bren was supposed like everybody's leaning that maybe Paper X will wake up here on Icebox, but Brent chose the map and Brent chose the side. And I feel like they learned their lesson from like the previous time they played against Paper X because they read Paper X so well. They even though like Forsaken was like being read so hard, opening duels Forsaken would lose, which is rare, especially on Icebox when he would get that advantage. Uh, it's just Dubstep and Borkum doing so well on this map, and they were able to wreck uh Paper X on that final map, claiming that map win. And it was so good to see. That was a good round, super convincing for Bren when they won that. And yeah, Bren Bren just built differently. Bren Bren winning uh Bren winning it for not just Philippines and not just for the Southeast Asia scene, but also for the Philippines. Because never has it, never has it happened wherein a Philippine team would be known to be good at an FPS shooter, FPS game, especially on an esports level. Uh, the during the CS:GO days, uh, Philippines was kind of decent. They would pull some upsets over Tyloo here and then, but they were always lacking in some sense. While other regions like Indonesia, they would show up, especially Vietnam and Thailand. They were good in other titles, and Philippines was never always that in contention. And it was so funny because I believe post match interview of Brent's victory against Paper X, they dubstep legit broke into tears, and seeing him do that, I felt it because even though like I've been watching CS:GO and Valorant for like I was watching since I know CS:GO the scene since like 2019. It's so weird to see a Filipino team actually performing on the top level. And now it's a different though it's a different title, it is still amazing to see. And that's like the best thing that Valorant has done for the Southeast Asian region, which is like give opportunity, like so much opportunity that Valve could never do with CS:GO. Like yeah, CS:GO did like many people enjoyed CS:GO back in the day, but I feel like it was the lack of having first the prize money, uh, sponsors, even just like getting yeah, I guess getting sponsors or even tournaments at least. was so lacking in our region that it would always, if there were PH teams, they would always have to play internationally by default because they had no one to scream here in the Philippines, and it was like just these two teams in the Philippines that kept changing back and forth. But now with Valorant, you have like a Philippine league. There's even an academy, not academy, um, an inter-school event, inter-school league for Valorant for to train these young stars to become professionals. We have and in just like a year, the growth of like East Valorant esports in the Philippines really boomed up. There were now not back then it's just BBREN, like the legitimate org. Now we have other orgs fighting in contention to be like that, take that legitimate spot, and it's so good to see because it showed how Valorant in C like helped not just like the Philippines but other regions as well, and that's it's so exciting to see. And that's what I love about this Valorant C challengers because seeing all the teams around the country, around the region compete, grow, and like showcase their talents is gonna help establish the scene even further, and one day make it something very respectable. And they it's always the Southeast Asian teams that's super underrated even before like Masters Reykjavik. It was Masters Reykjavik X10 that brought Southeast Asian region to the map, wherein they showed like this jet player that's so insane. Because whenever people talk about Asian teams, they always talk about Korea, and when they saw how like a Southeast Asian team can play, it thought they suddenly were like, oh, okay, so they are different. They're not like what how everybody says they are. I remember it was Slasher, who that esports journalist or something. He would say that Southeast Asia is like the very bottom on who he thinks like the rankings of like the esports in Valorant. Like Southeast Asia is like the lowest because of how puggy we were, and I don't I never agreed to that. I don't agree with that because you know we're a region where yeah it gets puggy, but slowly the Southeast Asian region is moving from that. Now things are getting more tactical. Now players are just insane at aiming and just super big brain with the strats and with the whole I guess with these two teams, PaperX and Brent, hopefully they bring in more sponsors to the scene, and especially in Southeast Asia, develop those orgs so that not only would they just be like Brent having like sports psychologists, but also have like a good foundation of like support for the players, just so that they could improve even further. And yeah, I'm excited to see Brent and PaperX do for Masters Reykjavik. What's sad though is that there won't be any more South there would be that's the end of like Valorant challengers. There's none left for the Southeast Asian scene. There might be other other events. Hopefully there will be more events in the Southeast Asian region. I'm expecting. I want more to be honest, and I feel like there'll be plenty of like shuffles, uh, roster changes. Though it's so hard to keep track of that since it'll be mostly based on the region versus like any international crossings. The only following big tournament after is Masters, and I want to talk about that in this podcast. Maybe just focus on the Southeast Asian part, not so much on like the other regions because There are better podcasts for that. And yeah, after Masters, I think the only thing left to talk about is like the last chance qualifier because apparently there's 10 teams, three from Southeast Asia, two Japan, two Korea, two China, and one India. They're all playing. They're all gonna be competing for one slot for the Champions Tour, which would happen by December, which is basically the Worlds of Valorant. So far, it's yeah, basically C would have a potential 2 to 3 entries. Two would be the current team that will qualify for the champions is either X10 or whoever, however, Paper X and Bren would do on Masters Reykjavik. If Paper X, Bren get eliminated, be like one of the first teams to gets eliminated, Paper X immediately qualify for champions, and either of these two teams would join them, while another would have to fall to the last chance qualifier. Uh, but if like for example Bren manages to like at least gets out of the group stage of Masters, then uh yeah, if they're able to get out of groups, then Bren automatically qualify for the champions. Whoever the two, Bren or Paper X, if they get out of groups, qualify for Masters. But if they're like one of the second team that gets eliminated, like second batch that gets eliminated, uh, it would be they would. I feel like they'll still be below X10. Yeah, yeah, they'll still be below X10. So like the only way to uh, qualify for champions immediately is to just get out of groups. So that's a goal. That's a good goal for like Bren and Paper X. So yeah, I guess yeah. So basically that's VCT Challengers. All the teams popped off. I love. I really love watching all of this, and I want more. I need more. I mean, more international tournaments, at least in the Southeast Asian region. Hopefully, more. There's more to come. More sponsors. Hopefully, hold events in the Southeast Asian scene. Uh, yeah. So far, there's none, but hopefully, yeah. Let's pray more. Since it might be a while for the next episode, I might just try to do like highlights of like of teams since there's VCT Masters and we have two teams representing the region. I'll see if I can do like an in-depth analysis on like Bren and Paper X, not both their run and like their overall growth and like how I feel they could deal with Masters, especially like uh it's about to be announced when the brackets would be. Yeah, they still have yet to announce the teams in each group, and I'm waiting for that. That way we could start doing predictions. And yeah. Till then, I'm Loser Mangaka, Heartstock Silver, also big fan of Brand Esports. I should buy a jersey as well as Paper X. I need to buy a jersey. If you're watching this, Paper X or Brent, please send me a jersey. I'll love you forever. And I wish the best for these two teams. Like, really, they represent the region and I want them to make it far as they could. Put put the shame to the other uh regions. Try to, yeah, hopefully they prepare well, and like especially Forsaken is a monster. Insane. He is, I guess, considered the best in Southeast Asia, like the best player in Southeast Asia, especially considering how young he is, his insane reactions, him always being in the top leaderboard. Uh, I hope, and yeah, always getting like the best KDA ever. I hope he, shows that on Masters. Show that, yeah, this is an insane jet player who could also play for support if he wants, as well as I don't expect specific players in Brent to pop off. I feel like it will always be a team uh effort with Bren. Like, sure, dubstep uh good on the jet, but it is gonna be like the whole team is in sync. So I'm always looking forward to like team play of Bren and how they'll do it Masters. Again, this is Silver Linings. I'm just a silver heartstock silver. If ever you feel like you want to talk about, VCT SEA region, just hit up the comments below. If you enjoyed this podcast, go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, follow the Spotify, and leave a comment if you want to like talk VCT Southeast Asia stuff. Yeah, I'm totally down for it. Yeah. Anyway, let's eat. Thank you so much. And yeah, see you next time whenever I get around to recording another episode. Bye.